Yo, what's up guys? I'm Rosty, former Rank 1 legend, HCT finalist, and top coach for GamerSensei. Welcome to the Road to Worlds video series, brought to you by Blizzard Entertainment and GamerSensei. We're going to follow the story of Surrender and his road to victory in the Summer Championship. We're going to look at 3 critical games where Surrender made some seriously next level plays that really showcase his amazing strategic thinking and just highlight how skill intensive high level Hearthstone really is. The pros just play the game differently. Don't believe me? I'll show ya. The first game of Surrenders we're going to follow is Game 2 of the Summer Championship quarterfinals. We've got Surrender on the Tempo Rogue against Empanizzado's Highlander Priest. It's turn 5, and Surrender is about to make the play of the tournament. Alright, so let's take a look at this board here. At first glance, it's really nothing too special. Surrender's just going to attack with all his minions and then pass off his turn to Empanizzado, right? Not quite. Surrender decides to hold back the Shaku attack here, and that's so good. Even though Surrender gives up 2 damage and a potential card off the Shaku, he plays around the Potion of Madness. Because if he attacks with Shaku, then Empanizzado can use Potion of Madness to kill off the 6-2 Edwin, and if that wasn't enough, he'd also get a random rogue card. So instead of giving Empanizzado this amazing line of play, Surrender basically says, you know what? This Edwin's just good enough. And if you choose not to deal with the Edwin, then you're going to be taking 6 damage every turn. The punish for not attacking with Shaku is Dragonfire Potion. But looking at the board, Surrender's probably not beating Dragonfire Potion anyway. This is one of those subtle plays that sets top pros apart, recognizing when a card can and can't be played around, and then sequencing accordingly. And as we saw in this match, Surrender gets so rewarded for playing around the Potion of Madness that Empanizzado had all along. Alright, now let's jump ahead to turn 9. Surrender is so far ahead because of his Shaku play from earlier, but now he's got another tough decision to make, whether he wants to leave up this Velen or not. If you've ever played against a Priest, you know just how scary leaving up a Velen can be. But Surrender decides to push face with all his minions here. I love it! This is a play that most people are just way too scared to make. Because of all the crazy things that Velen can do, most players just insta-kill it without even thinking about what they're really playing around. But Surrender's been paying attention this game. He knows that Spirit Lash is gone, Holy Nova's gone, so instead of wasting face damage, he recognized that he can actually disregard the Velen and make a push for lethal. And because Surrender chose to be aggressive here, he's actually going to clench the game, and soon, the series. Now, we're going to head into the semifinals of the Summer Championships, where Surrender is going to be facing off against an unfavored matchup. It's going to be his Highlander Priest against Purple's Jade Druid. Let's pick things up in turn 5 of the second game here. So, Surrender is going to tempo out Lyra, and that is so important, because a lot of people here, they would play it safe and just hold the Lyra back until they can kind of play it with at least one spell to generate some sort of value, because a 5 and a 3/5 on its own, that's not very good. But what you gotta realize as Surrender is you're already unfavored in this matchup, so you need to be taking more risks. And on top of everything, Purple doesn't have a board, so how is he gonna kill the Lyra? Well, he's gotta use spells, right? So let's say Purple does something like swipe and hero power down the Lyra. Then he's only got 2 mana left over, so he basically spends his entire turn just clearing the Lyra and passing back to Surrender. It's such a good spot by Surrender here to just keep as much board pressure as he can. And because of this play, Surrender's actually going to manage to keep Purple on the back foot the entire game, and he's going to lock up this unfavored win. That's so important. Alright, now let's take a look at the semifinals of the Summer Championships. We're going to pick things up in turn 8 of Game 3, where we've got Surrender's Murloc Paladin up against Purple's Highlander Priest. Surrender's about to win and clench the semifinal 3-0. He's got an incredibly favored board position, but he doesn't let that confidence blindside him. He still makes sure to play perfectly by playing around every out from Purple. So looking at this turn, Surrender could just play Blessing of Kings to push damage. Instead, Surrender chooses to play the Sunkeeper Tarim here, which is actually going to reduce his total power on board. It's such a weird play when you first look at it, but when you think about it a little more, that's a good thing. You want Sunkeeper Tarim to reduce the power on board, because that's going to play around Shadow Reaper Anduin. And now, how's Purple going to deal with the entire board? Shadow Reaper Anduin only kills 1 minion. Dragonfire Potion isn't good enough because of Scalebane and Tarim surviving. That's just checkmate. It's so crucial when you know you're so far ahead in a game to transition your thinking from how do I win to how do I make sure I never lose. And that's exactly what Surrender did this match. Making counterintuitive but excellent plays is really just what sets Surrender apart. And then there were two. Now we're in the final match of the Hearthstone Summer Championship. We've got Surrender on the Tempo Rogue up against Orange's Token Shaman. And we're going to start with turn 3 of game 1. So here, it's so tempting to just kill a minion with your dagger if you're Surrender. But he's going to choose to slam down the Shaku and just pass instead. I really like this play because to some people, it's very clear why he did what he just did, but to others, not so much. This turn, it showcases one of Hearthstone's most important concepts, planning ahead. Look at Surrender's hand. He probably wants to play Deckhand and SI7 Agent next turn. So if he uses the dagger charge this turn, then the Deckhand won't gain charge next turn. What a brilliant turn here. On the surface, it looks like not that much is happening, but Surrender's actually just setting up for such a commanding swing turn. Next turn, he's going to have Shaku, SI7 Agent, South Sea Deckhand, and then all of a sudden, Orange is staring at that field without a board of his own. Now, let's jump all the way to the last game of the finals. It's tied, 2-2, as Surrender's going to start turn 3 of the Priest Mirror match. So, looking at his hand, he doesn't really have too much to do here. He can just play the Shadow Visions, or play Cleric, or both. But Surrender's going to choose to play nothing this turn, and just float 3 mana. What? Surrender choosing not to do anything here is so brilliant. He knows that this matchup, it's not about tempo. It's about drawing the most cards and finding your combo first. You gotta find Raza, you gotta find Shadow Reaper Anduin before your opponent. So Surrender not playing the Cleric here isn't too unrealistic because A, he wants to play around his opponent's Potion of Madness, and B, he wants to save the Cleric to potentially draw a lot more cards later with Circle of Healing. But even more crucial than that, he avoids an extremely common mistake that I see people make all the time, which is playing the Shadow Visions as soon as they can. Oh, I got 2 mana, time to play Shadow Visions. No. Playing Shadow Visions doesn't really make sense in a non-tempo matchup because you don't know what spell you want yet. Surrender really just showing his extensive knowledge of the mirror match in this game, and it's going to be this self-mastery that's just going to carry him throughout the rest of the match and all the way to the World Championships. Well guys, this has been Surrender's Road to Worlds, and as we've seen, Surrender's discipline and airtight gameplay earned him his spot in the biggest Hearthstone tournament. Time and time again, when many players would have just attacked or just committed resources, Surrender instead understood his position, played around his opponent's outs, and just remained stoically in control. It's this skill that sets Surrender apart as a pro. Thanks for watching. If you want to get live coaching from a pro like me, then head over to GamerSensei.com and take your play to the next level. What are you waiting for? Be a winner today.